So after learning all of that, what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you into a culmination of all those skills you've just practiced. And we're going to go towards our first project, okay? And the first project is going to entail a couple of things. You're going to do some research, and you're also going to create some hand-drawn thumbnails, and then you'll actually go on the computer to do your project. But there's a little bit of planning in there. So I will tell you what your project is. So how many of you have actually walked into a bookstore or library or something like that looking for a book but not knowing what you wanted, and something catches your eye? What is it that catches your eye?
The cover.
The cover, exactly. The cover is almost like a label. You know, sometimes you'll go and buy soda or something like that and the label will catch your eye. What does a cover actually do? What's the purpose of having a cover on a book? Why don't we just have the solid with the name?
So you need some way to sell it, for it to grab attention.
For it to grab attention and to sell the book, right? For someone to pick it up and be interested in it. So, right, it grabs attention. The images kind of hint at what's inside, right? Sometimes images can intrigue you. They can kind of pull you in, right? So image in itself, like the selections you were doing before, can be a focal point. Sometimes it will play on your emotions and how you feel. So mysteries do that a lot, science fiction covers do that a lot. If you were to look at a book that was a mystery, what feelings might it provoke?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. What about like a murder mystery? If the cover was really gory or kind of eerie, what feeling would that evoke?
Would be interest in it.
Interest? Would it evoke any fear? Sometimes
Possible.
fear can be a motivator. It's like, oh, that looks scary. You all like those scary Halloween movies, right? Yeah. So sometimes fear can be a provoker, or just, you know, things that provoke emotion. Sometimes things are very bold or very interesting, and they do just kind of scream out at you on the shelf. Especially if they're contrasted with something, a book cover that's really not very interesting, right? You're more apt to grab something like that than something that's just one color with a title. Some of them are very simple, and just the text are the things that make the statement.
That's how you tell it's a boring book.
So, in looking at these, which one do you feel would grab your attention?
I like the middle one.
The middle one? Why?
Color.
Just because of color.
Color. So color can grab your attention. What about these?
The red one.
Oh
no, I kind of could be layers.
I like the middle one, just because, like, I don't know.
So some of you said the red one on the right, and some of you, one of you said the middle one. Mikey, what do you think? Which would grab your attention?
Probably the left one.
The left one over there?
Yeah.
So for me, it would be this right one, because there's this very intense dog that looks very scary, with very sharp white teeth that pop out at me, and with the kind of the text that's very jagged. So it all kind of pops at me and kind of makes me a little scared to look at it. So there you have, you know, the visual with the text. What about these?
I like the one with the milk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the milk one.
What do you guys think?
Milk one.
No?
Or the black one. That's kind of weird.
Black one looks upside down.
Mm-hmm. Did you have trouble reading that?
No.
Did you just kind of pass over it and go straight to the milk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of saw like the one with the green on it, and then I saw the milk one.
Mm-hmm. And why were you attracted to the milk?
I don't know, because the milk bottle just kind of stands out.
Kind of pops out. It also has kind of a three-dimensional feel to it, with that little line on the bottom, like it's sitting on a table and it's a corner of a room or something. So it does kind of pop out at you. So, what do you think will be on the cover of your book? Take a minute to think about it. How would you design your own cover?
I don't know.
So if you imagine your book, and this is what your project's going to be, it's going to be your story. So you're the focal point of the book. And it can be a story about who you are, about who you'd like to be, about what your life is like here at Big Pine High School, family story, travel, something like that, but it has to be about you. And you're basically marketing this book. And the way you market it is by the cover. So you have to think about how you would present your story with the text and images. It could be wild, and this is where fonts really play a big part. Let's see if I can get this to work. It can be very subdued, very quiet. It just depends on what it is you're trying to show. It can be very romantic. There's some emotion there. Very kind of matter-of-fact, scientific. It can be real cute, and usually fonts that are round like this, that have kind of round edges, tend to make us feel welcome, warm, cuddly, that kind of thing. You know, harder edges or jagged edges are a little more uncomfortable. Oops. Images. Images, do you think they play a role in creating your covers? Probably, so the choice of image would be very important. So you have to think about that. And then when you're creating your book cover, you want it to sell. So you have to think, you have to have goals for yourself and think, I want this to be a bestseller. So if readers were to walk by a shelf with your book and a couple other books, you want it to pop, right? You want them to pick up your book, your story, and be intrigued and open it up enough to say, read a couple lines and say, I want to get this book. So that's kind of your goal, and that's what we're going to do at the very end when you're all done. We'll put it on top of a book, we'll set them all up, and we'll see if it passes that glance test. Okay? So the design skills you're going to learn will be using text and the power of it, kind of like what you did with your collages. Using color to convey meaning, just like that one we saw with the dog, with the white teeth and the red background and that black dog. That can convey meaning. The importance of positive or negative space and how you work with that. How you choose your images and how you manipulate them. Okay? And that's all what we were doing this past week. And then the mechanics you're going to use or learn while doing this is how to lay out a page, how to manipulate your fonts, how to work with images even further, and printing, how these get printed and how we will print them out. There's a couple things to consider when you're designing a book cover. One is, what kind of book is it going to be? Is it going to be a spiral bound book, a hardcover book, soft cover book, thick, thin? What kind of book? So you have to start kind of thinking in those terms. Also, books have spines. We're not going to design the spine right now, but you can think about what would be on the spine, because it's really the whole package, but this is the main part. So you can consider the back cover as well. And so that's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do, though, is do a little research. So I'm going to have you go on your computers, and you can go to any book site. You can research images, like plug in, best book covers. I want you to pick 5 and pull them on your screen.
Can I go on that computer now?
Yes.
Sorry, Evan.